Hello. So for GCSE Maths, it is required for you to remember some exact trig values, such as sin 30, cos 45, and all the ones shown now. You could just remember them by memorising each individual one, however, there is a method you may find easier. Now, if you draw a right-angled triangle with side length 1 and angles of 45 degrees inside, you can work out the length of the longest side, the hypotenuse, using Pythagoras' theorem. So it will be the square root of 1 squared plus 1 squared, which equals the square root of 2. Now you have this triangle drawn, knowing that sine of the angle equals opposite over hypotenuse, cos of the angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan of the angle will equal opposite over adjacent. So if you remember this triangle, and then you're trying to work out sine 45, you can go to the triangle, look where 45 degrees is, and see the opposite over the hypotenuse. So then you can see that sine 45 will equal 1 over root 2. Now, you may be wondering why 1 over root 2 is different to the value we have up here. That is because this has been simplified. When dealing with fractions, it is preferred to not have a square root on the bottom. So if you had 1 over root 2, you would then times it by the square root of 2 over square root of 2, and as that is equal to 1 because it's the same number divided by itself, which would then equal root 2. Now the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. By remembering this simple triangle, which you could quickly sketch in an exam, you can get sine 45, cos 45 and tan 45. And personally, I feel like this is a much easier way to remember the values than just memorising them. Now, if you draw out an equilateral triangle, which, as you all know, will have angles of 60 degrees inside, with side length 2, then if you split it in half, you're left with a triangle with an angle of 60 degrees, an angle of 30 degrees because you have split this 60 angle degree in half, and an angle of 90 degrees. Now, there's the side length of 2, so this side here is the same as this side here, so that's going to be 2. You've cut this side in half, so it'll be 1, and this side here will be, we can use Pythagoras again, we go 2 squared minus, because we're finding a shorter side, 1 squared, which equals the square root of 3. So now we have just worked out another triangle, very simply, and we can use the same rules again. That's sine of the angle equals opposite over hypotenuse, and cos of the angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan of the angle equals opposite over adjacent. So for example, if we were trying to find tan 60, we would know that tan of the angle is opposite over adjacent, so we could know that tan 60 equals the opposite, root 3, over the adjacent, 1, which equals root 3. This gives values of sine 60, cos 60, tan 60, sine 30, cos 30 and tan 30. If you remember these two triangles, it will give you all your values that you need to know. So now, if we look at how this can be used in a question. So as you see here, I've drawn out the two triangles, which you'll want to remember, and you can quickly sketch an exam. And the question is, find out the value of x in this triangle. So, you can instantly recognise that the angle we've been given here is 45 degrees. And we have the opposite side, so if we label up, this is the opposite side, this is adjacent, and this is the hypotenuse. relative to the angle. So we can see we're using the opposite and the hypotenuse. So then we can quickly see we're going to be using sine, because sine 45, which equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So therefore we can put in the numbers we have to say sine 45 equals the opposite 3 over x. And we can see, if we look at the triangles above, work out our value of sine 45. So sine 45 here is the opposite 1 over root 2. So we know 3 over x equals 1 over root 2. Now, if we times both sides by x, you would get 3 equals x over root 2. Now that we just got that from timesing both sides over here by x. Now if you times both sides by root 2, you get 3 root 2 equals x, and that would be your solution. X equals 3 root 2. So before we go on, I would just like to mention that Student to Student Tutoring is offering free online GCSE maths tuition. So if you would be interested in this, please feel free to email the email address attached in the description below. Also, if you'd be interested in more maths tips, there's a link to the Instagram page where there is regular posts of maths tips similar to found in this video. Right, now back to this question. So, first if we sketch out our triangle, so we know our values. But now, as we have the triangle, this is a method you cannot use if you just memorize each individual value. We can notice that these triangles are similar triangles, which means there is a scale factor linking these two triangles. So as we can see here, to get from this edge to this edge, we have times by 10, which also means that to get from this edge to this edge, we also just times by 10, as the length of this triangle is 10 times the size of this triangle, given by this 10 here, which is given in the question. And it will also mean, even though we do not need this for this question, that this edge to this edge we times by 10, which means we can instantly see, using this triangle, know that it's 10 times the side length of this length, so that x would equal 10 root 3. And even though we don't need it, but just to show how quick it is, we can instantly see that the longest side, is of length 20. Now, for the same question again, of finding x, but using a different triangle, so we can instantly sketch our triangle. So we'll just put this angle in here. We know this is 45 degrees as well, due to the angle sum of the triangle is 180 degrees, and we're given 90 and 45. You can sketch a triangle. This is exactly what you could do in an exam very easily and quickly. Now this is 1, 1. Now if you can't just remember this, we could just quickly use Pythagoras to go root 1 squared plus 1 squared, which equals the square root of 2. Although it's likely that you will just remember this. We can see that this length here, and we can see that the scale factor here is times 4 going this way. So then we instantly know that this side here, to get x, is also going to be times 4, which means x must equal 4. Now this method is much quicker and arguably easier than the method of memorizing each individual exact value and using each exact value to then work it out, which requires you to rearrange your solutions, whereas this gives straight away what x equals. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, and if this was useful, consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this. Also, please leave a comment giving your thoughts on the video and what other topics you'd like to see in a future video. As mentioned previously, Student to Student Tutoring is giving free online tutoring on Zoom, 1-to-1. As mentioned earlier, email address is down in the description below if you'd like to get in contact regarding this. Also, please consider looking at the Instagram page, as it is likely you'll find that useful if you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching.